Hello, I'm Dave, and on this video I'm going to show you how to do a really simple Dia de los Muertos painting with a little help from a cereal box. You'll see what I'm talking about. Just enjoy the process. Let's get right to it. So for those of you inspired to do your own project here, like your own painting of a Dia de los Muertos skull, I released a speed paint video of this very same project, but I wanted to slow it down more so that you can kind of follow all those steps that I did a lot easier without having to pause too much. So that's what this video right here is. As you can see, I just opened up a cereal box, like one that I had basically finished, and on the biggest, flattest piece, I drew a circle. So you can see I drew this circle right here. Now, right underneath that circle, I just drew these little loops. Kind of went inside and rounded out. And now I rounded out right there, just drawing this with a pencil. And then I drew that round part on the bottom for the bottom of the skull, the jaw. And I wanted to slow down, show you all the steps that I went into this, and then also I wanted to give you, let you know, suggest other ways of doing things, such as when we start actually painting or coloring on this. But for right now, I think this is a very resourceful way of creating that skull. You use a box of something that you just finished, or something in the pantry that you don't need anymore. You just use that, open up that box, draw on it, and then do this outline here and cut it out. Now on this step, I'm placing it on a white canvas. Now if you don't have a canvas, you could put it on a regular piece of paper if you want, a poster board paper, if you have drawing paper, just something white that you could see the pencil mark on, or something light colored that you could see the pencil on, that you want the skull to be as your back. You want the backdrop to kind of match the color of the skull that you want. So that's why I said white. So I just outlined that skull onto this canvas. So that was real simple. Now I chose this spot right here for the teeth, and I just colored it all in one color. And that's because I'm going to outline the teeth later on with the black paint marker. So now, as an alternative, I'm using paint markers for this project for the skull, and then I'm using an airbrush for the backdrop. Now, as an alternative right here, you could use watercolor paint. You can probably get those at like 99-cent store or Target. You definitely get those at Target, like watercolor, or if you just find some paint set that you want, like a beginner's paint set, just get one of those, and then some paint brushes, and you could paint that. Or you could order those paint markers that I'm using. I have that link in the description below. Now with this this style right here, this Dia de los Muertos skull, you could go a lot of different directions here. But if it helps, maybe just start off with the after you do the teeth, maybe choose the color of the teeth that you want. After that, go to the eyes, and then just find that spot right above the cheekbone towards the center, where you could start with the main part of the eye, and maybe just draw a circle any color you want. And then from there, just do some design around that circle. And so you can see mine looks like a star almost, with the purple, with the way the purple's around the yellow. And then I just filled in that empty space with blue. And then I just did a nice design right around that circle. So you could do that same kind of thing, but maybe different colors, different shapes, maybe some circles in there, some triangles, rectangles, any squares, any shapes you want in there. You could make it your own. And obviously, yeah, definitely change your colors and go with whatever color you want. Now the reason I'm doing this project with paint markers is because when I have to do these details like this, it's just a lot easier for me personally to get the lines exactly where I want to get them. I get more control from paint markers when I have to be really detailed. So that's why I wanted to do this project with paint markers. But as I said, you could grab a different type of paint set and some paint brushes if you want, or even colored pencils if you're, especially if you're doing this on a regular piece of paper or on drawing paper. Do this project with colored pencils. It's real simple. So I moved down to the chin, did a couple of green marks there. Those are the leaves, kind of like a floral arrangement there on the chin. The nose is kind of a heart shape, an upside down heart shape. So I did the bottom part in red because I'm going to do the top part in black, and since I'll do that later on when I bring the black marker in. So I just did that little bit of the nose, but it's an upside down heart shape basically. So now I put a little bit more, I changed up the color a little bit. I used like a lime green around the green that's on the cheeks. Remember, you could do any design you want really. You could do shapes, flowers, just some lines moving around nicely. I would just suggest you keep it, again, this is all up to you, but I would keep it symmetrical. So if I do something on the right side, I would do it on the left as well. With the exception of the rose or the flower, not necessarily a rose, but just a flower that I'm putting on the forehead here. That, for the most part, is symmetrical, except for some of the buds inside of it, like some of the movement of where you see that flower going. It's gonna be, it's not gonna be exactly symmetrical. But definitely what I would say on this is to try to cover as much space as you can. So get the forehead, the eyes, the eyebrows, so all that's covered. Then you go down to the nose, get those cheeks covered with some sort of design, and then the teeth, and then down to the chin. You get something on every part of the skull, and it's just a lot of movement there. It's a lot of color, very attractive. It catches your eye. So you can see I'm putting that design in, and now with the black paint marker, I'm going in and doing the outline. That's going to make everything stand out and make everything come together. And I think you could do the same method if you're painting. Definitely if you're painting. I haven't tried it with colored pencils, but I think you'd be able to color everything like I did, and then go over it with a black colored pencil, and I think that should make things stand out and pop. So yeah, just continue to do the outline of everything with that black paint marker. And it's pretty simple because you see everything there, and you just outline it now. Every design that you've done, you just outline it. Maybe put like with around the eye, I put with those purple marks there, I put a line in there, a black line inside of it, and then I'm filling out the space around it with black. So maybe put like a line in there as well, or some design. And then with the red, I'm outlining that as well, all the way around the eye. And then just continue down. And I would recommend staying, if you're right-handed, just stay on the right side of this painting with this outlining, because what you don't want to do is reach across to the left side, and then you're going to smear maybe some of the paint onto your hand, and then when you touch some of the blank canvas, you smear that same color onto the canvas. I did that in a couple of spots here, but you just touch it up later on if that's the case, like if that happened. But just to avoid and make it easier for you, I would just say only work on the right side if you're right-handed, and then we'll get to the left side shortly. So with those, just continuing to put that the black outline, and then I'm doing some black movement there with like some lines right there, and then just a little design on the chin. And outlining the skull, but I just went a little bit inside with that line. So with the teeth, I'm just doing these grooves, just going circular motion on the bottom, and I'm going to do the same on the top. That's for the teeth. I didn't really count how many, so I just went with it, just doing those circular motions all the way through, and then you could just connect those teeth together. I mean, I don't think many people are gonna count the teeth on it and scrutinize that, so just kind of go with it. So now I'm outlining the left side, but that's not the way I did it that way, and then I decided I didn't want to do it that way because I was getting some paint on my hand. I was trying to find the most the parts that I didn't put any paint to put my pinky on, so that I could rest my hand on there. But then I decided it's just going to be easier to flip it over and work upside down, only because we're not getting too detailed here. We're just filling in and outlining what we already put in there. So for the whole left side, I recommend flipping it over and then working upside down basically. But you just outline and you just match what's exactly on the opposite side, so it makes it real easy for you to work upside down. Get all that detail outlined. And then if you see a little empty space, maybe put some dots in a different color that you hadn't used. I hadn't used this dark blue, but I wanted to. I love dark blue, so I wanted to get that in there. And getting the outline on the right side. Now flipped it over, finished the outline on the left side. But again, if you're right-handed, just make sure you're doing this to your advantage, so do a lot of the stuff on the right side. Now I'm putting some masking tape on there, just very small, and the purpose of this is to I'm gonna put that cardboard that we cut out earlier, I'm gonna put it back over the skull. So get some tape. You might want to be, if you're using a regular sheet of paper, you might want to be careful with the type of tape you use, because that could be really tough. Maybe just use small amounts, very small, because you don't want to rip your paper. So now I just put it on there. My next step, personally, I'm using my airbrush, and I'm spraying some color on there. And now what I didn't want to do, and I actually did do it here, is I sprayed a little underneath the cardboard. If you use the angle where you're spraying towards the inside of the cardboard, then it'll get under there. So you spray away from that. So basically, you can see right here, with my right hand, I'm spraying left side, but hitting the cardboard in a way that it's not going to go underneath it. If I sprayed left-handed towards the right side, it would sneak under there and get some of the white color. But alternatives to this, especially if you're on a piece of paper, is just color it with a crayon, color that space with a crayon, or colored pencil, or whatever you're using, or paint. But if you're painting with a paintbrush, I would just paint away from the start on the cardboard and then paint the opposite direction onto the canvas, and then that way you could cover it up, but you don't go underneath the cardboard. So now at this point I'm using some black to go over those colors that I put in. I use the colors of the rainbow. I'm using black now to go over that. The same with color pencils. I think you could do the same thing. Go back over it with black and just not cover every spot. With paint, you could have probably mixed some black in with your colors, and then left some of those some of that purple, blue, red kind of light. Left some of that showing a little bit so that you get that variation there. So now I take the cardboard off, take off all the tape, and now I see I do have some areas I need to touch up. It's okay if you end up like painting and it bleeds in. Just touch it up a little bit with a, if you're using these these markers, great. Touch it up just like I'm doing. If you're using paint and paint brushes, just touch it up with some white paint or whatever color you need to touch up. It's not always going to be perfect, but it's a great way to basically get this project started with that cardboard at the beginning, coloring the skull, and then covering the skull so that you can color the background around it. It just makes it a lot easier. So I'm just doing a lot of touch-ups here. But yeah, there's just definitely touch-ups, but they're not like I'm not having to redo a lot. It's just getting those lines clean the way I want them. And here you go, Dia de los Muertos painting. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click that bell for notifications.